Breaking news. Just minutes ago, it has been officially confirmed. Charlie Kirk, the outspoken conservative activist and founder of Turning Point USA, has died. Reports indicate that Kirk was shot during a live speech at Utah Valley University, where hundreds of students, faculty members, and supporters had gathered to hear him speak. The moment began like any other campus event. Banners were raised, cameras were rolling, and a packed auditorium filled with anticipation for one of the most controversial and polarizing figures in American politics. But in an instant, what was supposed to be a night of fiery debate and political discourse turned into chaos and tragedy. Eyewitnesses described the horrifying scene as a sound of gunfire erupted while Kirk was addressing the crowd. Many students initially thought it was some kind of staged disruption, a protest or demonstration against his views, until panic spread and screams filled the hall. Security officers rushed to the stage, attempting to shield Kirk, but the damage had already been done. Several attendees were injured in the chaos of people rushing to escape, and first responders quickly arrived to secure the building. This shocking attack has now been described as one of the most brazen acts of political violence in recent U.S. history. Kirk was known for drawing both massive support and intense criticism, making him a lightning rod for controversy across the nation. But no one expected his life to end so violently, in full view of cameras and hundreds of witnesses. America is now left reeling, questioning how such an attack could unfold in broad daylight on a university campus. Kirk was only 31 years old when the fatal bullet struck him in the neck, as he stood confidently before the crowd, delivering yet another fiery speech that had become his trademark. One moment, he was passionately addressing his audience, challenging them to think, provoking debate as he so often did. The next moment, the air was pierced by the sound of a gunshot, and everything changed. In just a matter of seconds, panic swallowed the auditorium. Screams echoed from every corner of the room as hundreds of stunned students and attendees scrambled for safety. Some ducked beneath chairs, others sprinted toward the exits, while security personnel surged forward, desperate to gain control of the situation. Kirk collapsed on the stage, his notes scattering across the floor as stunned silence briefly overtook the chaos. Within moments, paramedics rushed in, performing emergency treatment on site, before transporting him to the nearest hospital. Despite every effort to stabilize him, the wound proved catastrophic. Doctors fought for his life, but the damage was irreversible. After hours of desperate attempts, the news broke. Charlie Kirk did not survive. But this was not just a loss of a political figure. This was an attack that played out in real time, under the glare of stage lights, and in full view of cameras. Within minutes, shaky cell phone footage began circulating across social media, spreading the horror across the nation. Millions watched the tragedy unfold on their screens, turning what was once a live event into one of the darkest, most public assassinations in recent memory. The shooting unfolded at approximately 12:10 p.m. local time inside Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah, a campus that, until today, had been known more for its academic prestige than for scenes of violence. Kirk was there as part of his highly publicized American Comeback Tour, an event that had been drawing large student crowds across the country. The tour was meant to spark conversations about politics, culture, and the future of America, but instead it became the setting of a tragedy that has shaken the nation to its core. The moment the gunfire erupted, authorities wasted no time. University officials initiated a full lockdown across the campus. Classrooms were sealed, students and staff were instructed to shelter in place, and police units swarmed the grounds. Sirens echoed through the area as tactical teams entered the auditorium, securing the scene and searching for any additional threats. Parents, glued to their phones, frantically texted their children, desperate for reassurance that they were safe. For hours, confusion reigned, with rumors spreading faster than verified facts. By mid-afternoon, officials confirmed that one individual had been detained in connection to the shooting. This sparked immediate speculation that the suspect would soon face charges. However, by evening, in a stunning development, police announced that the person had been released without arrest. No charges were filed, and the search for answers continued. This revelation only deepened the uncertainty and public anger, as many demanded to know how such a brazen attack could occur without someone being held accountable. Now, both the FBI and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, ATF, have taken over the case, elevating it to a top priority federal investigation. Every lead is being pursued, Every second of footage is being reviewed, and authorities have vowed that justice will be served. Former President Donald Trump was one of the very first figures to acknowledge the devastating news publicly, signaling just how deeply Charlie Kirk's influence had reached within conservative circles. Taking to Truth Social, Trump wrote, quote, "The great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead." He didn't stop there. Trump went on to describe him as a brilliant mind and a true fighter for America's youth, underscoring the bond the two shared over years of political campaigning and mutual admiration. The post immediately went viral, drawing millions of views within minutes and sparking an outpouring of grief across social media. From the highest levels of government to grassroots supporters, tributes began to flood in. Political allies remembered Kirk as a man who never backed down from a fight, someone who gave young conservatives not just a platform but a movement that energized campuses nationwide. Supporters described him as fearless, tireless, and unwavering in his commitment to his values. Even critics, those who often clash with Kirk's hardline stances, expressed shock and disbelief, many stating that no matter their differences, violence should never be the end of political disagreement. Meanwhile, on the ground at Utah Valley University, the impact of the shooting was still raw. Students who had been inside the auditorium described the experience as pure terror. Some admitted they initially thought the loud crack of the gunshot was a prank or staged protest, until they saw Kirk collapse on stage, his bodyguard rushing to his side. That's when reality hit. What started as just another day on campus turned into a tragedy that will haunt everyone in that room for the rest of their lives. This assassination delivers a chilling and unmistakable message about the state of political discourse and public safety in America. Charlie Kirk was not just another speaker on a college stage. He was a figure who built a career on mobilizing young people, on challenging them to think differently about politics, and on igniting debates that were as passionate as they were divisive. And yet, in a setting designed for dialogue, free expression, and civic engagement, Kirk was silenced in the most violent way imaginable, with a gunshot that ended both his speech and his life in front of those he sought to inspire. The symbolism of this act cannot be ignored. A man who thrived on controversy, who courted the spotlight, and who fought for his version of the American future, was struck down not in private, but in public view, as though the very principles of debate and democratic exchange were themselves under attack. It raises profound questions not only about his death, but about what it represents in an increasingly polarized nation where words are no longer enough for some, and violence becomes the answer. Now, the investigation turns to the questions weighing heavily on the country. Who was responsible for pulling the trigger? Was this carefully planned, a direct targeting of Kirk because of his politics and the movement he led? Or was it the act of a disturbed lone individual seeking attention and notoriety in the most destructive way possible? Until answers are found, America is left in limbo, mourning a man, but also fearing what his death reveals about the nation's future. Tonight, one thing is undeniable. Charlie Kirk's voice, one of the most recognizable in conservative politics, has been silenced. His death is not just the loss of an individual, but the loss of a figure who stirred debate, provoked thought, and rallied thousands of young people into political life. No matter where you stood on his views, Kirk represented a generation of activists who believed their words could shape America's future. And now, that voice has been cut short in an instant of violence that will echo through political conversations for weeks, months, and perhaps years to come. Utah Valley University, once known simply as a campus for education and debate, will now forever carry the weight of this tragedy. The auditorium where Kirk fell is no longer just a lecture hall. It has become a historic marker in the growing story of America's struggle with political violence. Students, faculty, and attendees will never forget the day they witnessed an assassination unfold before their eyes. And for the rest of the country, this moment is certain to fuel heated arguments about safety, free speech, and the toxic polarization gripping the nation. As the investigation presses forward, the world is watching. The public is demanding not just answers, but accountability. Who is behind this? Was Kirk deliberately targeted for his politics, or was this the work of an unstable individual whose motives reach beyond ideology? These questions will define the coming weeks. But now, I want to hear from you. Was this a tragic but isolated act of violence, or does it mark the beginning of something much darker for America's political future? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And for ongoing coverage, subscribe. We will continue uncovering the truth behind this story.